We are back at it. We are here first Thursday of every single month, bringing to you candid conversations about being women, entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs. And today, myself and Dr. Catherine, we are talking about what it takes to do the work, what it takes to make it work. And now I'm not just talking about what it takes to do the work in business. I'm not just talking about what it takes to become successful, but we really want to get down to the bottom of this definition. We want to know, what does it mean to you when you hear the statement, what put in the work to make it work, or what does it take to make it work? So we want to ask you and start off this live today by asking you to drop it in the comments. What does that statement mean to you? Maybe what it meant to you a year ago and what it means to you today could be very different. And I hope it does, because let's be honest, in our society, in our culture nowadays, putting in the work to make it work sometimes can end up in a lot of burnout and a misunderstanding of the statement. So today we're just going to dive deep into this question. Let us know, what are your thoughts? And we want to talk about two sides of what it means to put in the work to make it work in business and in wellness. But let's start with the myths, because I think we need to break the ice of what it does not mean and how grueling and painful it is to learn and figure out that it actually doesn't mean overexerting, putting in hundreds of hours of work. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Dr. Catherine. What do you think? What's the myth in the wellness world of what it takes to put in the work?
Well, I think as high achieving women, especially in business, we feel as if we have to do more in order to get more. We have to do more in order to see the profits in our business, right? And that is a big myth. That is what we are conditioned to believe. But we have to think outside of the box. We have to think in a different way from how we've been trained to think, really. So, how can we work in a way that treats us well, that still allows us to thrive, not only in our business, but also our personal life, right? Because I look at things from a holistic point of view. I'm so happy that we're having this conversation today. What does that mean in terms of business? What does that mean in terms of overall wellness? And how can we really get to the root of things, and what tips we can give and start implementing and sharing with one another so that we can support each other on this journey of wellness in business and in our overall lives.
I love that. And Dr. Catherine, when you say wellness, and when I think about that, when we talk about wellness and women specifically, and why are we kind of having this conversation around female entrepreneurship and wellness for women? Well, first-handed, I would say my understanding of what putting in the work as a mom, as a parent, meant to me 4 years ago and what it means today are two completely different things. Before becoming a mom, I really believed it was like donating your own identity, getting rid of everything that, made you you, and just donating yourself to your little ones. And at first, it is so fulfilling and it feels like, okay, this is really putting in the work and I deserve, this star, this gold medal because I'm putting in the work that it requires. But I was exhausted. I was a zombie. We all know, new moms or motherhood in general, the first few months, you're a zombie. You're really exhausted. You're putting in all this work that you believe it requires to feel like that good mother, right? And in the end, you realize you have had no self-care. You may go through an identity crisis. You have lost some things that were important to you. A lot of amazing things happen through that. But I think there's a myth around how much work has to go into something to feel like you're a great parent. You're already a great parent in so many ways, but I think we're tied to a little bit of a myth of what it really means to put in the work. And if putting in the work, I think is fair to say, in motherhood, in wellness, and in business, if putting in the work means sacrifice, stressed out, overwhelmed, or burnt out, I'm quite confident today that that is not what putting in the work looks like anymore, at least not to me. And I hope to anybody listening in, if you're a mom, if you're a business owner, if you want to improve your wellness and your health, that that is no longer what feeling accomplished or feeling like putting in the work looks like, right?
Yes, it's because in society there's a lot of value that's placed on hard work, right? Push hard, right? Work hard, play hard, right? Another song that comes to mind, She Works Hard for the Money, right? From by Donna Summers, right? So, there's just so many things in society that really rewards us for putting in the hard work. And that's what we've been conditioned to believe we have to do. But if we know that there is another way and we can use different strategies to live a lifestyle that allows us to feel at peace, feel more at ease, doing things that are more efficient and less energy and time consuming, it's possible. So one of the things I just want whoever is listening to know, it's possible. It's possible. If you don't really understand or believe that now, I'm letting you know again.
So I have a quick question for any of the viewers watching this live, watching the replay. I want you to drop in the comments, when I touched upon that motherhood piece, it's a painful moment for me to think back on how I just thought it was about sacrificing and then always having mom guilt. And all I did was sacrifice, but then I still went to bed with like, oh, I could have done so much more. If
Mm.
that resonates with you, and if you've ever felt like that, drop an emoji in the chat to let any other woman who's watching this know in solidarity. Don't now guilt yourself of feeling like, oh my goodness, I thought that was putting in the work. Well, guess what? We all were there. But as long as you are learning to implement that self care, and we're going to get into that, we're going to give you some tips on what putting in the work for your wellness actually looks like and what putting in the work for your business as a mompreneur or female entrepreneur looks like as well. But watching this live, know that we've all been in that place. We have all been in that mindset where we truly believe putting in the work was being completely and utter exhausted. But gone are those days, because I'm done with those days. 2024, I was done with those days. When you are putting in that type of strenuous, like 80 hours a week or going above and beyond, having to-do lists that are totally unrealistic, and that would actually take you a month to complete, not one day of your expectation. When you actually start putting in the right type of work, when you actually start to putting in the work that it actually requires, which is not that laundry list of things, what happens is you remind yourself of, like, I think, what our older generations used to do. So our old generations, and I'll speak from my personal experience. Tell me if you agree, Dr. Catherine. So my grandparents, when they came to this country, I live in Canada, when they came to this country as new immigrants, when they went to work, they put in the work. So that means when they showed up at work, they had granular type thinking. They crossed the T's, they dot the I's, they made sure the napkins were folded the right way. They did nothing with napkins. They were in the farming, but I didn't know how to use something to go with that. But you get what I'm saying, right? They had granular type thinking. So when they put in, whether it was 5 hours or a regular work day, they made sure they produced the best quality of work. If they
Mm-hmm.
went to work for 4 hours, they made sure within that time it was the best of their ability. Instead of working 17 hours and putting in half of the effort. To me, that kind of hits home with what it actually means to put in the work. When you're going to put in the work, put your heart, your passion, your cross your T's, dot your I's, put little hearts on wherever, and feel really great about the work, even if that work was a 2-hour work day.
Mm-hmm.
If you put in 8 hours, but you don't put in that type of effort, at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, you still don't feel fulfilled and accomplished. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the biggest lesson I learned in motherhood and in entrepreneurship.
I love that. And it's so important too to really put your best foot forward, so to speak, right? We've heard all about that. But what does putting your best foot forward actually mean for you,
Mm.
right? Just bringing it back to wellness, right? Putting in the work for your wellness is a part of putting your best foot forward. If you're not taking care of you, then how are you going to be excellent at producing your work, serving your clients? whatever, being a woman leader, you're not going to be doing the best, even though you think you are
Mm-hmm.
and you have the intention behind it. The intention is there, no doubt. But are you really serving in the way that you think you're serving? Both family as well as in your purpose driven work.
Oh, so true. Right away, I keep going back. Today, I just feel like I keep going back to my experience in parenting as a mom. And I just literally thought I was putting in the work with all those hours. And then I was going to bed because I wasn't spending those present moments doing all the driving. I was doing all the things that it required, but then I was so exhausted and I wasn't having these present moments, and then you'd have that guilt. And I think that's what, when we're talking about whether it's wellness, business, or anything, what does putting in the work actually look like? Well, if putting in the work is, if you're on this wellness journey, you're cutting corners, you're half, it's really because it's not of interest to you, or it's not important to you, or
Value.
you're not it's not a high up on the value system.
Correct.
And when it's not something that's high up on your value system, I think what it does, it ends up draining you. It ends up being something you're not enjoying, right? Because you've got too much on your plate trying to achieve that thing. So let's jump in
Mm-hmm.
to some tips. Dr. Catherine, get us started. Share us some tips in the wellness space on how to really put in that work that it requires. What does that look like? And I think a lot of people jump right to the point of like, okay, I need to get to the gym, I need to work out, I need to eat healthy. Those are the two immediate places people go when it means putting in the work for your wellness.
Right. Yes. And I love that we're having this discussion second half, the beginning of the second half of the year, so that we can really assess what we've actually done for the past 6 months. Is it something that really helped us on the journey that we want to be on to achieve the goals that we want to achieve? Or are there things that we need to change in order for us to really succeed in wellness, in business? So the first thing that always comes to mind, I'm a big proponent of this, putting in the work in your wellness. First tip, rest.
Mm.
Rest. There's something that I wholeheartedly believe, actually know, is that less is more. We could have a whole other conversation about this.
I love
Less is more. But because, and I'll tell you this, one of the reasons that I believe that we think we have to do more to get more outside of societal influences is also that there is this limited mindset that we have. There's this desperation associated with the work that we're doing. And if we're able to know that there is an abundance in the universe, right? And everything is happening as it should, that we need to take the time to rest, even though we think that we need to be doing other things. There's always going to be something to do in business. And if we can accept that fact and really be intentional about listening to our minds, bodies, and our spirit as to when we need to rest, to pause, to calm down, and really allow our bodies to rejuvenate and regenerate, we will become more productive when we rest, so that we can then profit in our business when we rest. So that's my first tip.
Do you know what your first tip just did for me? And drop me a yes or a heck yes in the comment if you agree with me. But you just removed the guilt associated with rest. I think oftentimes we don't rest as much as we should because we feel guilty for resting. I'll feel guilty if I slept in and thought, oh, that wasn't productive of me. And so I love that that was your very first tip, to putting in the work that it requires to make it work for your wellness and your
Mhm.
holistic self. Rest is what
Right.
Dr.
Put
Catherine.
in the work to not work.
If you rest, there is no putting in the, if you don't rest, there is no putting in the work to make it work, because it's not going to work. You've got to rest. And I think in our society, that's how we have been conditioned. A lot of people thought rest was 6 hours of sleep and not wanting to get that 7 hour cycle, that 7, 8 hour cycle. Or if you got that 8 hours, not feeling productive about it, right?
Right. And the other thing I will say too is it's more about the quality of rest than the quantity of rest. I'll just leave that out there. And everybody is different, right? We're all unique individuals. So you might need more than I do, and vice versa. It depends on what's going on in our lives and all of that, what's going on in our bodies, minds, and spirits. So again, a holistic approach to it. But I just wanted to say quality over quantity. So you might be getting 8 hours of rest. I know a lot of patients I've had in the past get 8 hours of rest and they wake up exhausted. They're not in that deep sleep.
That's a great tip and a great reminder. What type of rest are we getting as well?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All
So
right. How about you? Give us one
okay,
tip.
so the tip I was thinking in my head, and I wanted to jump right into like the tips I have for entrepreneurship, like putting in the work that it requires around business. And I'm going to save that for tip number 2 because we've got something special happening in the HerLink community around our all-in-one CRM software to help you master the back end of your business. So I'm going to share that in tip number 2. But right now, for tip number 1, I started thinking about putting in the work to make it work. And you changed my tip number 1, Dr. Catherine,
I
because
did.
Dr. Catherine just brought up we're 6 months through the year. Who wrote down some goals? Put a 1 in the chat if you wrote down goals for 2024. I did. And it was in my notes in my iPhone. And I just opened it up yesterday and I had a look at my goals for 2024. I looked it up because my kids have goals for 2024. And I knew riding his bike was one without training rules, all these like ones for my kids. I looked it up and I looked at my own goals and I saw 5. I'm going to bring up the book because it made me think about that's putting in the work.
Book.
5 things I wanted to change or make of a change in my life in 2024. And they were 5 very simple things. And I looked back and I don't even want to get emotional. I looked back at my notes and I was like, Crystal, I'm so proud. I'm doing those 5 things. They have become habits in 6 months. And we're halfway through the year. And I was just so proud of myself. And they were the smallest things. One of them was around my wellness. I said I wanted to get strong. And I look back and I've been going to the gym for 6 months, lifting weights, focused on building strength. And so I looked at this and I thought to myself, Crystal, that's putting in the work. Small habits, making changes in my life that were small habits that were holistically going to allow me to feel like this year I put in the work that it required to make it work, not for anybody else except for me.
I
So
love
that's my tip
that.
number 1. Yeah. Thank you.
And you make a good point. It's that those small things, we think about those big goals, and then when we don't achieve them, we feel guilty. We don't give ourselves grace, and it's just this roller coaster up and down that we're on. But those small changes make such a big difference. They really do. Okay, one more tip on my end. I would say, and this serves for business as well. So this kind of serves for both. So maybe we can come together. Maybe this is one of your tips, and that is delegate. Delegating really helps with your overall wellness. We know that we cannot get back time. We want to be intentional about our energy expenditure. So, what are some of the things that you can do at home? You don't have to do everything. So, what can you do to ask a family member, a friend, pick up your kids, do the dishes, right? Is it How to Be a Millionaire?
Yes.
That's the name of it, right?
Everyone should be a millionaire by Rachel Rogers, right?
Right. Right, exactly. So that's my second tip, is really figure out how you can delegate in your business and in your personal life. When you really look and see all the things that you think you need to do, you don't need to do them.
Because I feel like today we're speaking to I feel like we're speaking to some moms out there, mothers who need to hear this. Delegate, delegate, delegate. In business, as a mom, as a parent, every aspect of your life. When you are a household owner, you are the CEO of a whole operation, right? When you are a mom and you run a household, literally, that is a job within it. I don't think we delegate enough being the CEO of our household. So that is something that I have definitely increased with my kids, with even my partner, and making sure things are evenly distributed. I go back to women and how we've been conditioned. And I think we're very quick to take and put extras on our plate. And then there's this invisible laundry load list that nobody knows exists except us. And then we become resentful. And then then there's communication issues. And then there's being exhausted, and then still not feeling like you're putting in the work. It's an awful vicious cycle. So delegation is key. I love that you just brought that up. That's a huge part of wellness. I was emptying the dishwasher the other day, and my mom, who's like my best friend, always over, she comes over and she sees me emptying the dishwasher, and she's like, you need to make this your boys, when they wake up, they empty the dishwasher. After dinner, they load the dishwasher. That it should be their every single day routine. And it's true. And I have them doing small little things, but they could do more. There's so many positive benefits from involving other family members in getting the things that need to get done in the household. I love the delegation. And of course, in business, same thing applies. I read in a book, and of course, it wasn't a book that required me to understand this. I think we all understand this, but why in entrepreneurship do we sit there doing the things we dislike doing, when that is one of the benefits of running your own business? Sometimes you get to actually delegate the things that don't spark your fire, that don't bring you the passion, that don't drive why you actually want to be an entrepreneur in the first place. So if you can and you have the means, I encourage you, even if you don't think you have the means in your business at this moment, to hire someone or delegate. There's always ways, and getting creative on how you can delegate if the financial cash flow means in your business isn't necessarily there. Maybe it's starting off by a project. Maybe it's starting off with one isolated event. There are opportunities. And once you start the ball of delegation, something cool happens. You automatically, that cash flow starts to appear itself in your business to be able to delegate even further.
Right.
But until you get that delegation train started, you are just constantly stuck in this overworking, thinking you're putting in the work when it's actually counterproductive for you in entrepreneurship. I truly believe in business. So
Mhm.
delegation's huge. I think that for me, the last tip I have for business,
Mhm.
and it is the main reason I pivoted our company and rebranded to be a community, to be the number one place that you get, yes, an all-in-one software solution to run the back end of your business. But do you know what sparks my fire? And this is what it means putting in the work, is actually learning the back end of your business, actually becoming your own expert in your own business. Because if
Mhm.
you don't know how your business is ran and you don't know how the operations are ran, then you will be constantly in that overwhelm and that chaos. And I truly believe it means putting in the work. And I think in business, it's exciting. Entrepreneurship is exciting. We want to do the exciting things that go with it. And yes, we talked about like do the things that bring you the passion and joy, but it also means you have to do some of the work in the back end of your business.
You have to know it. You might not be doing all of it, but
But
you
you
have
have
to
to
know
do
it.
it. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's break it down. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar, Herlink, we sell an all-in-one software to run the back end of your business. That's your website, your email marketing, your email campaigns, automations, funnels, you name it. It's an all-in-one magical system. So, you don't have to set everything up. You don't have to set up all the automation. You don't have to set up all the workflows, but you need to go to a school, you need to go to get a program, a course, or you need to take Herlink, sign up for Herlink Academy and join us for our 12-week training to actually have a holistic conceptual idea on what a business needs to be a well operated machine. What are all the parts to running your business that you actually need to either do yourself or delegate to somebody else to actually run your business in 2024 and beyond? And I say 2024 and beyond because if you are not up to date in times with digital marketing and softwares that are being used to alleviate your time and stress in your business, then you're going to be left behind. My tip number 2, putting in the work, taking the time to actually go through the learning curve of running a business. You know,
Absolutely.
running a business has the beautiful cover to it, but
Mhm.
there is a little bit of the in the trenches work every single entrepreneur has to do and learn in order to move forward and have a sustainable success in their business career.
Absolutely. And what I like about the system, because I'm a part of that system, right? I have that system. So now what I love is that everything is within it, right? So I'm not going calendar, website, as you mentioned, landing pages, text messaging, email campaign, everything is in there. And so I don't have to go over here with Calendly or over here with ConvertKit or whatever CRMs you have. Everything is just in one place. So everything is integrated nicely and it makes that process easier, right? And the other thing that I love is, you mentioned putting in the work for the back end. It's important because, you're laying the foundation, you're setting up those systems so that when you're able to delegate, right, then you're able to scale even further with the delegation and the systems that are in place. So if you don't have a good foundation for the back end of your business, then you're operating on quicksand. You're not operating on solid ground.
Ooh, you know what? This is the bonus tip. The bonus tip for today is that word efficiency that you just dropped. And I
Mhm.
like that word because there was a book that I read that taught me about this. So, an all-in-one system to run your business, it's being efficient. You're cutting out 7 different places you need to log in. You just have to log into one place. Okay. That's to do with the back end
That
of
is
your
time. That is time well, taken.
it's incredible. But I'll
Yes.
give you the smallest example when we talk about efficiency, and this has to do with what it means to putting in the work to actually make it work. Be efficient in anything and everything you do. Think about efficiency. I'll give you the smallest tangible example we can all agree with. I don't quote me on who it was. I think it was Steve Jobs. It was in a book that I read that this individual only bought black socks.
Mm.
And the reason wasn't because this individual liked black socks. It was either black or white socks. Both worked with either outfit. And this individual did this to save time
Mhm.
because we don't realize how much time we're actually utilizing in our capacity on finding socks to match,
Yep.
on figuring out is this sock go with this sock, and how much time we're actually wasting if you accumulate that through the years of your life. When I read that, I was like,
Yep.
and so it was somebody very successful in business.
A lot of them do that. Quite
Yeah,
a bit
did
of
the
them,
same thing
especially
with their
men.
shirts,
Yep,
their dress
exactly. The
shirts. They
same
only wear
thing.
the same thing, so they
Yep.
never have to waste time on thinking about what am I going to wear today? And ladies, how many of us have gone through those days of wasting so much time on being frustrated, not knowing what to wear? Could you
Mhm.
imagine?
I
Now, I'm
know.
not just about to go and buy only black and white clothing. Dr. Catherine, what 2 colors? If you were forced to stick to only 2 colors, what would it be?
Oh, I think I'm gonna have to go with pink and black.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. Let us know if you could only pick 1 color or 2 colors.
That's
You have to
hard
be
though, because I have some
monochromatic.
other ones now.
What would it be?
Simplicity of, dressing so that you're saving time. Same thing with food preparation. Like we know we need to eat every single day.
Mm.
The time it takes for us to think about what we're going to eat, how often have you asked yourself that question, right? But if you can sit down once a week and plan out what you're going to eat, even if it is for 3 days out of the week and then you do it again, it really saves time. So you know what you're eating, you don't have to think about it, you just heat it up. We spend
Ooh,
a lot of time thinking about food.
it is so true. And you know what? That's why HelloFresh, and I don't know if it's the same in the United States, but HelloFresh, when they send you all the food and the recipe and you make it, that's
Yes.
why they became so famous. They hit a pain point in society. And it wasn't about removing the thought process of having to figure out what I'm going to cook.
Yep. So how efficient can you be in your life? I think we have to wrap up now,
Exactly.
right?
Yes, yes. All right. Happy July 4th weekend. Happy Canada Day weekend that just happened here in Canada. I hope you all have an incredible, amazing, and safe weekend. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Catherine, any last words?
No, that's it. So make sure to just be thinking about how you can put in the work differently for both your wellness as well as your business. We will be back next month and we see you then.